Dear students, all of you are welcome to another class of biology. Today we are going to discuss about reflex actions. The accidental and involuntary responses towards stimuli are called reflex actions. Here, the stimuli are unexpected and the response is involuntary. For example, when you touch a hot object, you suddenly withdraw your hands. Or when a bright light falls on your eyes, you suddenly close your eyes. In these two cases, the responses takes place is not according to our will. That is, it is involuntary responses. Then, what are the process going behind reflex actions? First of all, our receptor cell receive the stimulus. Then there forms an impulse. That impulse is carried by the sensory neuron and it finally reaches our spinal cord. Then there is an interneuron which connects the sensory neuron and motor neuron. Then the action to be taken is sent to the muscles through the motor nerve. Here, spinal cord takes the decision for action. Brain has no involvement. So we can say that most of the reflex actions are carried out by spinal cord. When the message generated by the spinal cord reaches the muscles of our hand, we suddenly withdraw our hand. There are reflex actions which is controlled by our brain also. For example, when a bright light falls on our eyes, we close our eyes. This is controlled by brain. The path of impulses traveled in a reflex action is called reflex arc. It can be illustrated in the form of a flowchart. First of all, receptor cells receive the stimulus. Then the impulse is carried to spinal cord through the sensory nerve. Then the impulse traveled through interneuron which connects sensory neuron and motor neuron. The interneuron generate quick response according to the sensory impulse. Then the motor impulses travels through motor neuron and finally reaches the related muscles here in the muscles of our hand. The following animation will help you to understand reflex action better.
Reflex action. What if you open a box and surprisingly a joker jumps out? You will get frightened and step back instantly, right? Have you ever wondered why does this happen? The answer for this is reflex action. In this lesson, we will learn about reflex action. The process of showing involuntary response to any type of stimulus without any information and knowledge of the voluntary centers of the brain is called a reflex action. The voluntary centers of the brain are in no case informed before the action takes place. The voluntary centers of the brain may or may not receive the information after the reflex action is completed. Some of the examples of reflex action are jerking of knee when tapped below the kneecap, blinking of eyes when a bright light suddenly shines in your eyes, pulling your hand away when you touch a hot kettle. Now let us look into the flow of impulses in reflex actions. If we unknowingly touch a hot object, this heat is sensed by a heat receptor in our hand. The receptor starts an impulse in a sensory neuron, which transmits the message to the spinal cord. The impulse is passed to the relay neuron, which is in turn passes to motor neuron. The motor neuron passes the impulse to a muscle in our arm. The muscle of arm is an effector organ, an organ such as a gland or muscle, because it responds to the stimulus. This path followed by an impulse in a reflex action is called reflex arc. Impulses flow only in a single direction in a reflex arc. Now, let us see how the reflex action is different from any other normal action. The spinal cord is the medium by which motor and sensory impressions are conducted to and from the brain. It receives impulses from all parts of the body. In a reflex action, the detection, processing, and the response is handled by the spinal cord and respond before the information reaches the brain, although the information input also goes on to reach brain. In normal action, the impulses reach the brain. The brain controls the other organ systems of the body, either by activating muscles or by causing secretion of chemicals such as hormones and neurotransmitters.
Reflex action helps you to respond rapidly to a stimulus from the external environment without any conscious control.
Now, you might have understood how you are able to pull back your hand when you touch a hot object, or close your eyes when light rays falls on it.